Number 4 of 6 is coming right up, and it is Frosty versus Flurry. Frosty on the Bomb Warrior once again, but Flurry going for that rogue that he's becoming more known and known for. Here's where his name does come from, but we can check out the deck list and see what we've got coming up. In the original match these guys played against each other, Flurry did end up winning 2-1 over Frosty, but now it is going to be Flurry's rogue we can take a look at.
Yeah, it's true. Everyone throughout the day is going to be a rematch from one of the matches in week 1. And when I was going through what people won with in week 1, it's actually the unfavored deck came out on top most of the time, which is kind of strange. But it's maybe not so strange these days if you're one of those people that thinks that Bomb Warrior is favored against Tempo Rogue, because Tempo Rogue has just been killing it this weekend and making me question who's actually favored in that matchup. Particularly for Flurry's build, though, it's going to be a little bit dicier, I suppose, because Walk the Plank seems like an inclusion for Mage in particular.
Yeah, it is only one of those, so I don't think changing any one card in the deck is going to make it, or at least be a massive detriment. The card does have options. You can just Walk the Plank anything on curve, any magnetized mechs later on in the game, but most for me at least is this deck, as well as Flurry piloting very well, is just a mixture of value and raw aggression, and I think it can just go way too fast for the Warrior to deal with.
Raw aggression. What does the shark say, Raven?
I don't know the answer to that.
You don't watch Purple and Crew say their streams. They say the shark says roar.
Oh really? That sounds silly. I've never heard a shark roar in my life, or make any other noise. Unless out the film Jaws, maybe. But let's go to Frosty's list and let's see what's going on in his Warrior. He does have a weapons project, which means there's going to be some early potential high-level armor gain or quick armor gain, along with some removal for some of the smaller minions. But the main thing here I see is just the weapon removal in the form of Harrison to help along with the double waggle pick that Flurry is going to run.
Yeah, it is definitely a huge factor that helps decide who actually is more favored. I feel like even without the full weapon removal package, on average, Bomb Warrior should come out on top, but this definitely adds a lot of percentage to that matchup. Clockwork Goblin is the usual, but I want to say that after reviewing VODs of certain Bomb Warriors versus Tempo Rogue, I'm starting to wonder actually whether you keep that in the matchup.
Maybe. It's tough. I don't even know. I feel like a lot of it depends on how the Rogue approaches the matchup in general. Of just, is the Rogue going to play hyper aggressive because Flurry is running deck hands as well, but then he's also running the cable rats and stuff, so for that late game kind of value sometimes. So I don't know. It's a real tough one, but I think Flurry might just be a little bit favored, at least in game number 1 for me.
Yeah, I can definitely see that coming into play. But really the weapon removal is what it comes down to most of the time. And I was reviewing a lot of the VODs of Rogue versus Bomb Warrior, and in those matchups I feel like maybe if the Bomb Warrior played less for curve and tried to mulligan more for removal, like things like Shield Slam, things have gone a little bit differently.
Okay.
But definitely Town Crier, Militia Commander, Wrench Caliber are all great things that at once you get on board with the Town Crier, but you also are sitting on great removal cards. So I think Frosty's got a great hand for the job.
Yeah, he really does. The Warpath's actually really nice as well, because other than exactly Van Cleef, Warpath often just clears every single rogue board that can exist. All the minions are around 3 to 4 health. So in moving from mid-game to late game, Warpath just clears the board.
You did mention Edwin Van Cleef there, which has been most of what's been carrying the rogue matchups, I think, against Bomb Warrior throughout the weekend. And Frosty is not running Ironbeak Owl or Execute to deal with that, so he has to keep that in the back of his mind. Flurry, they're happy to just dagger up and save that backstab for next turn to activate Miscreant. Frosty has this option of coining the Elec, but without any follow-up, I think it makes much more sense to save the coin for his choice of 4-drop into 4-drop.
As you can see, the already becoming an age-old turn of Backstab Evil Miscreant at this point, generating those lackeys and now opening up the options here for Flurry.
Thinking about whether he should Shadow Step this already, and I quite like doing this because he saw Town Crier, so the chance that Militia Commander is in hand is very high. Frosty would love to just take that value trade onto the Evil Miscreant, so Flurry is going to make sure that he gets more value out of it later. So now you probably just go for the Elec, right?
I think so. I don't think preemptively like coin into wrench caliber really does much in just loading up the weapon. So yeah, I think Elic hold on to the coin, maybe coin Dynamatic ends up coming out if you actually end up losing this Elic somehow.
Right. So Flurry can use Eviscerate to deal with the Elic, but I think the turn starts with Faceless Lackey almost in every... Wow, okay. This seems like a very slow turn. As you mentioned, Walk the Plank can get more value onto magnetized minions, or even mechs at all, and that wasn't a mech.
I think, funnily enough, it's the right turn to be slow, because a lot of the... Like, look at Frosty Sound, it's a good example, right? This coin Dynamatic does nothing. Militia Commander does nothing, because there's nothing on board. And was anything Flurry was going to do or could do that turn really that impactful to the whole game? Versus using a card that's a little bit janky to use in a reasonably efficient manner, removing an Elic, and now he can do slightly more things because he's got one extra mana.
It's a fair point.
Ooh, okay.
It's all about the timing, I suppose. And Armorsmith is a good minion. Shadow Step again onto the Miscreant. Who needs a shark? You can just build your own.
Yeah, and Armorsmith's really good to help out with the Dynamatic issue Rogue often has.
Looks like Flurry might just save the Shadow Step because this board state is quite awkward for the warrior to deal with. But Frosty gets a decent Militia Commander now. It's just deciding, I think, whether he starts the turn with Omega Assembly.
Defend the gates!
I don't know if he needs to. Is he going to draw a mech anytime soon he wants to actually play?
No, I don't think so. I mean, he's got a solid play for next turn, which is Coin Boom, as there are now two bombs in deck for Flurry. So I like holding the Omega Assembly for more value later on.
Yeah, and even after that, there's Dynamatic, there's now the Wrench Caliber, there's a Militia Commander. You can definitely bridge the gap to turn 10 here, and unless something goes dramatically wrong.
Right. Yeah, he might not even necessarily boom next turn, because this could be a decent Warpath, depending on what Flurry closes the turn with. I think he's going to evolve Ziliax, though. Wow.
That's a good one.
That's going face.
Yeah, face tank the 2 damage and just go face, or just put the 1/1 in if he wants to save a little bit of damage and also just reduce the board size down a little bit.
Yeah, it hedges a little bit against Brawl.
Also, he has deck hand in hand, so it means he would have to redagger next turn to activate it. So I don't mind the 1/1 trade.
Yep. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think Flurry is the master of making sure Brawl isn't too bad for him, as we saw from yesterday. So 3 Warpaths deals with everything but the Miscreant, staying on 1 health. Frosty did just see a Shadow Step, but he hasn't accounted for the other 2 lackeys, so he might be scared of something like Witchy Lackey evolving a 1/1 into a 4-cost minion. But yeah, I don't see a clean way of dealing with the Argent Commander if he doesn't go for that. And the Dynomatic is not too likely to clear it, I would say.
Yeah, might just have to go for it this turn.
Oh, Coin Dino does it.
Yeah, Coin Dino's
yeah,
good.
okay.
Light the fuses!
Puts a minion on the board and now Flurry's kind of running out of juice a little bit.
Yeah.
He really could do with a Shark right about now.
Or an Edwin.
That's true.
This could get him something like Sprinter Myra's. Myra's looks good to me.
It does. I just wonder without I mean, it's probably the best pick out of these 3 anyway, in terms of just card quality. But I just wonder how and Flurry's going to use it, because Myra's can sometimes feel way more difficult to use when you don't have a strong foundation in the game. Like, Flurry is not ahead on board. He's ahead on health a little bit, but that's about it.
It's true. I mean, obviously it's not the ideal Myra situation, but I think the hand is so light that he needs to get some type of refill, and Myra's is just the most efficient way to do that. Like, you'd obviously much rather Myra's not just as a last resort, but he's got a decent amount of damage into Frosty already that the Myra's could just be like a final push in the way that Odd Rogue used to use it.
Yeah, and you see now that the way Flurry's playing, he's just putting as much out of his hand as possible to get value with the Myra.
type of board state makes it unlikely that Frosty, I think, will go for the boom here.
Yeah, I think Dynamatic #2 and then just jam the Eternium Rover really wouldn't be so bad.
I'm thinking if it's Hero Power or Rover, because squeezing out the Hero Power seems okay if your next turn is going to be boom plus 1 drop anyway.
Yeah, I just think that you want the Rover to be active. You're on a very low health versus Rogue, at least. Rogue does a lot of outputs a lot of damage. You're on very low health versus Rogue, so I think just having it down because you aren't Dr. Boom, it means you can't rush it, so it takes a whole turn to get cooking.
Wow, double Witchies. This could turn into a 6-drop. Gonna step this now. I was wondering if he ever held the step for possibly getting Leroy off of the Myras. It's not guaranteed. What? 3 Witchies? Okay.
So he can take it to an 8-drop if he really wants. Not this turn, but in general. He has enough Witchy power.
I guess taking the guaranteed Shadow Step value while you have a minion that really does have Battle Cry rather than saving it for something you may or may not get off Myra's makes sense. And anyway, he still has the mana next turn to play any remaining Lackeys and Myras. So I like evolving this again. Seambot not really helping the game plan of aggression here for Flurry. You could do some funny business with like Faceless this turn, and then if he thinks the Seambot is unlikely to die, maybe it soaks some damage and then you evolve it. But oh, he's just... Wow. Echo. Lackeys with Echo.
If Glinda survives, that seems a little bit unfair.
That seems broken to me. And how is Glinda dying this turn? The Steambot is protecting her.
Don't know. He's Mansa. He can get through the Steambot, so he only has 1 turn of Glinda frustrations to deal with, I guess. But this is looking a little bit rough. And there's also Myra's as a backup plan.
1 turn is enough, I'm pretty sure. You can just evolve. It's unstable evolution in the form of minions. I guess it's limited by your board space, but
Yep, that's true.
Still looks insane. From Frosty's perspective, he knows there's 2 lackeys, so a witchy one, or even the kobold one, that's just unlimited 2 damage. Ethereal, nearly unlimited spells. Oh, I like that he takes the aggressive stance instead here. The Militia and Wrench Caliber seemed a bit too slow. On 1 bomb left for Flurry, I think. Life Drinker with Echo.
Pushes 12 this turn, I mean... And he
Right?
can evolve.
It pushes 6, right?
I mean,
he
with the
played
other
twice?
if the other minions go first.
Oh, yeah.
And then he can evolve it. And then Myra's into damage. It's a little bit risky, of course. And there is the Eternium Rover on the board, which is frustrating.
Yeah, because of the way the board space works out, he can't fully utilize the Witchy Lackey value.
Also, Echo is a little bit annoying for playing Myra's too.
So I think he's gonna create the board space and then try to evolve what's left. Rope's burning though. There's no way there's time to evolve all of this. Or is there? 3-drop, 4-drop, all understated for their cost so far. 5-drop. Okay. Well, Flurry did get as much board space used as possible, but I don't think that was the ideal turn from him, and you could see from his facial expression.
I think reasonably enough, though. Glinda is still a 3-6. There's still now a 5-5 on the board, so I think it's still on Frosty to react to this. Unless there's something I'm not seeing. He can Militia Commander into the 0-5 to just get rid. And then he has, what, 10, 12 damage. 15 with the weapon.
Use the wrench too. So, yeah, Boom doesn't look too great this turn because it's not actively helping him remove the board, where Glinda and the 5-5 look like priority removal targets. So, I think I like playing Commander Wrench Caliber. So the Commander and a Boombot go into the 0-5. Boom goes into 5-5, and then Wrench and Dino into Glinda, but Frosty's saying, nope, rather go into Boom mode. Blast Shield's a great outcome. I wonder about this though.
So he's going to trade into Glinda, right? And just say, well, you've got 5/5
Okay.
and 3 1/1s. Who cares?
That's fair.
Especially with that hero power. Frosty doesn't care about 1/1s.
I think this is the second time I've seen Flurry draw a natural Myra after discovering a Myra. But yeah, the turn is looking like play stuff and then Myra, but I wonder how he orders the trades. If he's trading at all. He might not be able to afford to, given that Frosty's back up to 31. There's still a single bomb left in deck, so there's worlds where Flurry goes down to 16 health and then has to deal with fatigue starting the next turn.
That is a reasonable amount of damage.
Frosty's just downing whatever that drink was. That's a reasonable reaction to Myra, I think.
Yeah, have a nice drink of water.
Zap Boom! Does he really want to do that? Knowing that Dr. Boom is in rush. Oh wait, there's no more bombs left in deck, of course. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep, 7 mana, 7/7, do nothing. Gets the Van Cleef down, which is 10/10. It's a big ask for Frosty to deal with this. And like I said, there's Life Drinker, SI7 Agent, Eviscerate. There is a Lackey into Tog. So if Flurry wants, he can actually generate a Tog treasure next turn.
Crazy. This is gonna have to be a good Omega Assembly from Frosty. Otherwise, he would have to do something crazy like Militia Commander Face Tank to deal with that. But the Whelp can go into the 5/2 and then the 7/7 charges into 8/8, right? Or is it 7/7? It's 7/7. Yeah, the 8/8 is from the egg. Sorry.
Oh, right. Yeah. From the Whelp.
But that's not enough to deal with Edwin.
Okay, then.
He can Kaboom and then send all of it to Edwin, but that leaves a 5/1 up on board. I think you take that.
Okay.
He's still at a reasonable health.
This seems
total.
fine, right?
Yeah.
So in Frosty's mind, he needs to outlast the Myras. We can obviously see that there's a treasure which can help with stuff, or at least help with the overall level of resources that Flurry has available for this game. Also, like I said, this is just a lot of damage. There's still SI7 Agent Eviscerate next turn.
It's a lot, but Frosty has Zilliax. He can go Hero Power Dynomatic for a full clear next turn. He can Weapons Project if he wants to.
Would he ever go Steambot Zilliax next turn? Probably afraid of... Are you afraid of Zap? I don't know.
Ooh, the order on that is a bit dicey if he does... unless he is intending not to Hero Power and instead Zilliax onto this and say that most of the time you deal with the 5/1 and the 1/1.
Yeah.
It would have to be very unlucky not to hit... Okay.
Oh, that was actually really sick.
That is the best outcome.
Frosty's done that before.
Yes, I've seen that many times. So this has to be the greatest treasure.
Double time and double pay.
Pick a crown, right? And just
I guess so.
hope for a
Unless you
dream.
want a 6/6 taunt. But yes, I think you do pick the crown. Choices.
More Togs, but no,
Oh,
not
gonna put the
Darwin.
pressure on Frosty.
Gotta go fast. That looks like lethal to me.
Yep, it is 20 damage from the bombs and
Yeah.
6 damage from the minion on board. And that means Frosty is going to take a 1-0 lead over Flurry. And that was kind of funny because Flurry decided to put the pressure on with the Nosdorma
Yeah.
and say, make your turn quick, friend. And Frosty was like, okay, I know I already have lethal now as soon as that card is drawn. And that's the kind of issue you can run into when you play Myras versus a warrior without finishing the game very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Card.
Every
And-
single bomb goes up.
And the Warrior did force the Rogue into the position where they had to Myra's as a last resort. And generally as Warrior, that's a good place to be. And to me, this seems like more like the average way that the matchup pans out. But then again, we didn't see a shark that game. Oh no, it happened late.
Yeah, there was a very
Yeah.
late
Yeah.
shark combined with the miscreant into 2 lackeys early. but then a whole lot of nothing. There was just no middle part for Flurry on the road.
I'll tell you what we didn't see. We didn't see an early Edwin. We saw an Edwin that was live when Boom was active already. So it died the turn it was played, didn't get any damage in. And good on Frosty for keeping a cool head towards the Nosdormu turn and on other turns.
Yeah, I think the good, interesting part of that we talked about a little bit was when he played Boom, it didn't look like the best turn to get Boom live, but just getting it in while you can and not being then punished for it is so impactful. And I think Boom timing might sound silly because it's like, oh, you just play when it's green and you've got 7 mana. But I think in general, just getting those right turns to safely get it down increases your win percentage by a large amount, because I've seen and I've done it and it's happened to me where you get very punished for playing Boom and then you just take tons of damage, the opponent's head on board, and then you're forced to react again, and then you react again, and then you're dead. It's just not going to be fast enough. But Flurry does have, you know, it's not over yet. Frosty had a good game there, taking a win. I don't think Frosty's really going to change deck, from what I can see at least in his lists, but I think Flurry might move on to this Scheme Novice Engineer Harrison list.
Yeah, this looks like it in theory is for Warrior, although I've never seen a sideboard go in this direction when they're teching for Warrior. I would think maybe they'd add more of the Burgle value package, but then again, we saw some pretty crazy things from Shaxi when he discovered a scheme, and now Flurry can consistently have the scheme early if he wants to, and then do the thing with the 0 mana Leroys and push for 42 if he gets the perfect treasures.
Yeah, and most importantly, Flurry can play a similar game plan to what he did, and he was getting close to lethal at one point without the Zilliax, of course, with the reassurance that you can scheme post Myras and say, well, your bombs don't guarantee I'll chain and go off and push me for lethal. Also as well, the only real problem I saw in that game from Flurry was that he whiffed a little bit on card draw and didn't really have constant pressure and constant value. Well, 2 Novice Engineers and a Harrison, as well as negating a bomb, also help with that problem, right? And keep that cooking. And if you go Shark into then a Novice Engineer and so on, we've seen it from Shaxi, where you almost just never run out of cards, ever. You just have a full hand as Rogue for the whole game, which is very, very powerful when Warrior needs specific answers to the questions you ask.
I think you hit the nail on the head, every point covered, and we just got the news that Flurry is indeed on Tertiary, and we like to see that, seeing the sideboard actually come into play. But at what cost is he actually putting in the schemes?
Yeah, so he is actually just removing 1 backstab, which isn't the end of the world. We can take a look at the list now. -2 deck hands as well, but if he's planning on being able to play the value game, deck hands aren't the end of the world either. A loss of 1 SI, 2 damage, not huge, and then the Walk the Plank, although we saw it get some use in the last game, it definitely isn't the optimal card you want to run against specifically Warrior.
Yep, so not losing too much at all, I would say. Deck hand on 1 seems like a good thing in theory, but the fact that the Warrior is running Eternium Rovers, that kind of just gets eaten up. So I think that Flurry will have a much better chance on this list. And now it's up to Frosty, I think, to determine whether he can actually play control like as he did in that last game against the scheme list. I think maybe seeing the Tertiary, and I'm pretty sure Frosty will know soon that Flurry swaps into it, or at least know already. Yeah. Because it just makes sense.
Or at least make the assumption, right?
Yeah. And so Frosty then will have to take the stance of the more aggressive style of Bomb Warrior, which is what the deck does best. You can go flexible with it. You can play aggressively on curve. You can try to be more control-ish.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting though as well, because if the Bomb Warrior plays more aggressive, maybe that lends itself more to the Rogue sometimes. I don't know. It's super difficult at the moment to judge how and how the right way to play the matchup is when the matchup has been in the secondary or tertiary deck.
Just from the opening hands, we saw the insta-full keep from Frosty135. Solid minions in the matchup, and he's picked up some things to do in the meantime on turn 4, but Flurry, this hand is looking real bad. Shark double scheme, no Lackey Generator.
It's not looking fantastic. It does mean that at some point in the game, if he chooses, he will never run out of cards. He might be able to max his deck.
He may run out of life though.
Yep.
At least he's got the Coin-Waggle pick to deal with the Alec. Okay, Edwin is something, but this hand, just like many Rogue hands, looks like it could use a Miscreant.
You can scheme other minions, right? Your opponent's minions?
Yes.
Maybe he schemes bombs. And just puts bomb generations into Frosty's
I thought
deck.
we were done with Bomb Warrior mirrors, Raven.
Yeah. not being totally serious, but it's an option, right? His hand doesn't do much at the moment. Not that there's a bomb activator down right now anyway, but maybe later on if he just draws one bomb a turn to give to Frosty, I mean, you'll get there eventually if you don't die.
Not the greatest assembly choices from Frosty. I think it's between Pinata and Whelp. The Whelp seems very slow, especially knowing that Frosty runs Sap, but it is just a one of Sap, so...
I think most importantly as well, the Whelp's just an on-curve play.
Exactly.
And next turn you expect Rogue to play something. If they don't, then great. Then you don't need the Dynamatic and it's fine and you can pass. But if they do, you can Dynamatic into it to kill it off and then you can just play the Whelp. If it gets sapped, you can probably just play it again because it did take your whole turn, but you weren't really doing much anyway, or Frosty wouldn't be doing much too much regardless. And then also Flurry has expended a sap, so that would have taken 2 of his mana in most circumstances. Anyway.
Flurry, I think, is looking to play just a 4/4 Edwin.
Yeah, he can't Shadow Step and play again,
Yeah.
right?
This doesn't seem great to me. I was looking at something as extreme as playing the Shark and bouncing it, so you get a discounted Shark in hand. Obviously, you don't want the Shark on board just without going into a Dynamatic turn. But I feel like that may have given him more flexible options later.
It would have mean even this turn, he could have Sharked into Van Cleefed, right?
Yeah, or
Which
something.
would have been better than a 4/4.
Also, did he whack face instead of the Rover? I was so fixated on the Shark that I didn't see.
He must have, right?
Yeah, that's
The
a bit
Rover's still there, so I hope he did. If not, that Rover's overpowered.
It's a
The
bit
Rover
strange
Death
to
Rattle
me.
resummon.
Yeah. I don't think Flurry's in a position where he can start pushing face for that long, and the Rover is an annoyance the longer it stays.
Yeah, and I think that's why you see the Shadow Step as well. It means that Flurry is just going to have to play for value. But now there's the Mechanical Whelp. And it might seem slow as a 2/2, but if it hits every single turn, because Flurry can't really deal with it that well, then it adds up. And Flurry doesn't really have heal outside of exactly the Ciliax.
He's finally got something going though with the Ethereal and the Cable Rat. His Shadow Step is great. You can get more lackeys with the Cable Rat. Eviscerate? Do you ever take Sprint?
Well, it's just funny how you see how you can potentially see the game going, right?
Yeah.
Because my query is, if he was playing Myra's, does he take Espionage?
Ah,
Because
point,
then you
but
start
yeah.
getting powerful, right? If you start drawing 1-cost warrior cards, you might draw Boom. You never know.
Worth considering, but ultimately I think Eviscerate is just the best card overall. And given that he didn't take Sprint last time, with the fact that he's filling his hand so much with lackeys and more spells, don't feel like he'll take it this time, but the other options are not looking as good as Eviscerate.
Choose soon.
I wonder if Vendetta's just fine.
Kind of looking at the Vanish because of the Whelp. But okay, now he takes the Sprint. I just don't know what's going on in Flurry's head, but he's
Shadow Step.
clearly the better Rogue player.
Now he's going to go wide on the board here.
Has he got time to get the double discovers? Or maybe you just take 2 random ones from the
Oh,
Rogue.
okay. You got Deadly Poison and
Yeah, I think
Shiv.
these are auto-picked, but not terrible at all, I think.
I've seen, sometimes you put those cards in your deck, which means they're pretty good to be discovered.
This looks like a pretty good Warpath turn for Frosty if I've ever seen one. He can not only remove the whole board, he can activate his Whelp. I guess there's the downside of killing his Rover, but he gains 6 armor in the meantime. Do you ever Brawl instead of Warpath?
If the shark lives, though, you cry a little bit inside, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you have to just get... If you trade Warpaths for sharks in this matchup, then you're probably just okay with it. But yeah, I think the small chance of shark living provides a huge problem for you.
Right. So Frosty's got a solid grip on the board, but the game is only really just beginning now that the Rogue has started to generate value. Ziliax and Eviscerate will deal with this. And then the Warrior does their powerful thing. Namely Boom on 8, I guess, is still very powerful.
And it's a good turn, like I said. You want to look for turns with Boom that are not only close to curve, but low trade-off, right? If he booms, then he takes 3 damage.
Is it okay to just play 4 and 4 here? Because Boom now, you miss the hero power anyway. So
Yeah,
I
guess
actually don't mind this.
you leave
yeah.
this with a minion on board, which again means you're probably in at least a fair position along with the weapon swing next turn.
Is this the second bomb? Or just the first?
Not answering that question, I don't know.
Okay.
That belongs in a museum.
No, either way it's drawn. Flurry taking down health a little bit, but Warrior generally struggles to actually push just direct damage without being either very ahead on board or shuffling in a lot of bombs in a low deck size.
Drop for Flurry. Oh no, he loses health. He essentially cast Elven Archer's battle cry on his Harrison. It's the same
And
board
didn't
state.
even make it immune to backstab.
Oh my god, that was a perfect hero power for Frosty. I was thinking you'd probably take the
Oh, I like that
Zap
play.
Cannon, but
I really like leaving it up.
he's at 45. What has he got to worry about, right? I think he knows he has to take that aggressive stance because the rogue has the late game potential with Scheme. But now Flurry, he did use a Lackey, but he knows he had Miscreant in hand at that point. But the side effect of that is that the Tog is delayed by a turn. But anyway, next turn he can go off with Lackey, Tog, Treasure all at once. So in effect, it comes out to the same. So I think Life Drinker is on the menu here because Flurry's probably feeling unsafe with his health total. Probably follow up with Miscreant and hope to get the damage Lackey to ping off the
So many options.
Militia Commander.
Yeah, even Rush wouldn't be so bad.
Several good outcomes.
And there's damage.
Yep. He just holds on to the Ethereal so he gets guaranteed Tog next turn.
Too soon.
Ooh. Wait, I think there's 0 bombs, but it could be 1. It could also be 40 million.
It could. Looks like this could well just be the Hero Parent's Dynamatic seems fine.
Yep.
Not perfect, fine.
Frosty's Dynomatic RNG has been pretty good so far, but now it fails him a little bit. But
Yeah, I wonder if he should have put the Rover in first. I don't know.
not entirely sure about the best ordering on that, but at least he had the Rover to shore up the worst case scenario. Sap just seems like the easiest to use. He's already got a sprint in hand, so there's no way he takes a second one.
Yeah. Zap seems easiest, but depending on how free he feels his mana is, maybe just 4 mana deal 4 is just fine. I've played Wing Blast at full cost before, and it's not the worst card in the world. Because, for example, in this instance, would you rather, I'm not saying, ignore the fact he has a good turn with Tog, but say there's this minion on the board, would you rather sap it, or would you rather just pay 2 more mana and kill it?
Does he go Wand here?
He can just do the Leroy thing, right, if he really wants to? Or he's going to do the 18 million Tog thing.
Sure.
Too soon.
Well, I don't even know how many that was. I'm going to go for a lot.
I concur. Definitely seemed like an abundant amount. Shiv there just to help cycle to get to the Togs sooner. The problem with shuffling Togs is he doesn't have Lackey generators in hand. I think he's still got a Cable Rat and a Miscreant in deck, but now those are even harder to draw because there's so many Togs in the way.
Right. He does have 1 though, which is going to help.
Frosty's in such an awkward spot, honestly, but since he hasn't played the Boom yet, I'm pretty sure it's just a War Golem, so I like Shield Slam, Hero Power, and push this 3-face. If the Boom were active, Hero Power Boom was almost definitely happening that turn, but not the case. Oh,
Just wants to kill him.
yeah? This makes sense to me. The hand does not support waiting. I mean, he has removal, but then the longer he waits, he knows that Flurry can get more value.
And the problem is, suddenly, shuffling bombs into the deck isn't going to quite cut it. Even though Frosty hasn't shuffled that many bombs in, the fact that Flurry can just add more and more and more cards to the deck means that it's just unlikely the bombs even go off.
Flurry was hovering over the 1, which means He could get a bunch of 0 mana 5/5s. That's not bad at all. And he's also got Life Drinker to help, again, get him out of random 3 bombs generated. He has no bombs to worry about. It's essentially just this board, right? And he doesn't want to take any more extra damage. So I think what he's looking for off of the Wondrous Wand is removal for the 3/2. Or he's just gonna shuffle Life
11.
Drinkers.
So the previous one was 10 Togs, right?
Oh my.
That makes sense?
I guess so.
Oh yeah, because it shows waves of 5. And it showed Togs twice, and it showed Life Drinkers twice +1.
I had no idea the animation worked like that. But yeah, now it's gonna be tougher for okay. With that draw, he can just go trade the 3/2 Clockwork Goblin, boom, send the rest face. Or maybe he makes room for one more boom bot by trading a. Oh, okay, right. He has rush. And so this is just better. I think you're supposed to trade in. Okay, never mind. Isn't it better to trade in one of the microbots and then the boombot?
Yes and no, though, because if the microbots live, then the microbots do more damage over time every turn that they live.
Right.
So if they do more than the average boombot in attack damage, then it's more valuable for one boombot to potentially kill the minion and push more consistent damage to face. Because Frosty's not trying to clear the board, he's trying to push the most damage, right? Whereas when you try and clear the board, yes, you should try and guarantee the bomb stick around for as long as possible to help.
Fair points. Flurry looking for an answer to the boom that doesn't sap it, but he might just be forced to do so. Problem is the bomb is still in deck, so the boom will get its battle cry off again if he saps.
Can Life Drinker Shadow Step Life Drinker? Oh, he's gonna just... Does he need more card draw?
I'm not sure what he's looking for in this instance.
Too soon.
Okay, now he can sap the boom, I guess, but he took 5 damage in the meantime.
Was that just...
Looks
I am-
strange.
very confused about everything here because it was extremely unlikely for Flurry to draw that bomb and
Yes.
make the boom more sappable, but he did it. And I'm confused. I've got nothing.
I'm also very confused. In any case, Flurry can discover a mech. And anything that magnetizes could represent, if not lethal, close to lethal. More bombs with boom in hand. Problem is, Clockwork Goblin this turn can't be paired with boom, but I think it's just fine. He can also shield slam. Oh wait, he has no armor. And weapons
wonder-
is bad here.
It's really tough. Because Dynamatic can clear the board, right?
Skater bot. That was one I was never considering, but I guess this is just more damage immediately if he magnetizes onto the either of these.
I guess he's just pushing 5. And saying, well, if Flurry had to do all of that to sap my boom, well, can he do it again? You know, I guess is the question that Frosty's asking. I was just surprised it wasn't the Dynomatic, just to clear the board and leave a 3/2, a 1/1, and a 3/4 on
Yeah,
there.
that seemed decent too. Skaterbot seemed like the strangest of the choices to me, but he obviously wanted to play the boom just as a war golem, and this is the strongest board state for the immediate next turn. He was definitely hoping that there was no life drinkers off the top.
So Frosty needs 1 damage.
And it won't be the weapons project because that's actually -4 damage.
So Acolyte.
He can Hero Power Shield Slam the Acolyte for 1 draw, but he'll only have 4 mana left.
Which
I don't know what. Yeah, this is just
not
better,
worth
right?
it,
Yeah,
yeah.
no way it's worth it.
I mean, Frosty is almost certainly not dead next turn,
Yes.
which means this Acolyte gets minimum 1 draw, maximum 2 to 3, and then also just an extra turn of maybe gets to hit face, because Flurry has to kill every single minion now.
Minimum is 0 if things like Vendetta, but just,
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
That's going to be game. Flurry knows he can't get anywhere, and Flurry has been conquered, and Frosty gets the shades on with the finger guns. I like it overall. And congratulations, though. Frosty, like I said, has been really turning up the heat now as he goes to what? Is that 5 and
6 and yeah, 5 and
5
3.
and
Now, they're
3.
now both on 5 and 3 because Flurry was 5 and 2 right before he
Yeah.
lost there. And I have to say that was not a way I ever see Bomb Warrior versus Tempo Rogue play out.
Yeah.
But Frosty definitely recognized that he had to play for Tempo there. He played 2 War Golems that game and just got there.
Yeah, but when you force in your opponent to go into saps for just a minion you can replay, and it's the sap plus lack of any real development was a big problem there for Flurry. And honestly, I'm not 100% sure on that Shadow Step turn
Yeah,
with
with
the novice engineer, because I don't know what he had Life Drinkers in hand and he had Togs in hand, and those were the 2 minions he was most likely to draw
Right.
post scheme. So it's kind of crazy. But let's check in with Frosty. I believe he is with us once again. Can you hear us?
Yeah, no, I seem to be quite popular here.
I know, yeah, we're talking to you fairly often. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
First off, you're 5 and 3 now. So I asked you the other day about how you're feeling about going 4 and 3, but now you're making some serious strides into that top 3 part of your division. So how does that feel right now?
Feels really good. It feels like I finally hit my stride, you know. It was a bit of a rough start, as I said yesterday, but
Yeah.
What can I say? It's finally my time to start getting things over again, you know?
And-
Started off 1-3 and now we're here.
Other than the actual game wins and losses, of course, do you feel like you've gotten better as the format and as the league has gone on? Do you think like your preparation and your choices of decks and then your gameplay overall has actually improved outside of just factually you've won more games?
Slightly. I'd say it's more a factor of my comfort with the entire sort of thing.
Okay.
You know, coming into it, I was extremely nervous in my first few weeks, and it kind of showed a little bit due to several misplays that I made. But, you know, I'm feeling a lot more comfortable under the spotlight now, and
Okay.
Hopefully it shows a little bit.
I mean, the
It
score's been
definitely
showing
shows,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to ask you as well about, there's a lot of discussion over, and obviously it depends on the build, but just Warrior versus Rogue at the moment, and what's favored, what's not, and how you should play it. But what do you think about the matchup? Were you confident going against Flurry on his Rogue? Did you think you were favored as Warrior, just as a general term?
I feel very favored game 1. Generally, it's just try to survive and whatever they've got and then just try to kill them. But game 2, it gets a little bit interesting because you can't rely on bomb draws. You have to just try to, again, kill them. Because there's just no way that you're ever going to be 21 cards in deck.
Yeah.
And, you know, the miracle bomb draw is not going to happen that likely. So you're really going to have to try to make headways and try to play as aggressively for tempo there. You know, you see the 7/7 boom or wall golem, as I like to call him, being played out that game simply because, you know, I can't give him time to draw his entire deck. I need to kill him.
Yeah, we were wondering about your specific mindset in that last turn where you had the discovery, I think, and then chose the skater bot when the two of us were arguing about the 2 other choices and their merits. But clearly you wanted to play the boom there, right? So can you take us through your mindset in those last few turns of the final game?
So pretty much my mindset was I want to try to get him as dead as possible. So the 1/1 allows me to play my 7/7, which allows me to put the most damage on the field, which allows me to kill him even faster. So generally with that sort of thinking, you know, that's where I wanted to take the game, to put Flurry's life total to 0.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of just interesting though, because although, you know, you're saying it with a slight jokey tone, it's not the most obvious of plays, right? Because you had the choice of Dynamatic, which just cleared Flurry's board, which means your minions stick for longer and do more damage. And then there was also just the minion to maybe pair with Boom the turn after to get more Boom bots on the board. But I do like it overall, maybe some outside the box thinking. But again, I won't keep you too long. So congratulations again, Frosty. And we'll see you not next week, but the week after.
All right, have a good one.
Okay, well, Frosty, as I said, taking the win there and having a fantastic weekend, and seems to be getting stronger week on week on week. So
For sure.
I think his future opponents just have to be progressively more afraid of coming up against him. So that's it for this match as well. And we've got 2 more coming up as it is Sunday, and we like to run 6 over here. We have Tom 60229 on the Warrior once again versus Alutimu on the Mage, though. So we can check out that matchup right after this break.